This is AdamantlyAnalog, episode 45. This week, we're talking about old school games and a brief preview of A Gentle Rain.
Hello and welcome to Adamantly Analog, a board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Dunn.
And I'm Corey Murphy, and it feels like it's been a minute.
It's been so long that I've begun to age, and now I'm so old.
You've only begun to age?
I finished aging. I'm very old.
As They Might Be Giant said, you're older than you've ever been, and now you're even older, and now you're older still.
Well, you know why we're talking about this, right? Because
No.
we're going to talk about some old games today, like your grandpa's games. If your grandpa's only 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
Hey Corey, I want to talk about old games because we're all about those new games. The board gaming culture is all about the cool and the new stuff that's coming out all the time. If you've played it once, it came out last year, it's already garbage. But that's not true. That's a falsehood. Let's talk about games that came out over 10 years ago that are still awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Our episode title is Old School Games, and it just got me thinking, where does the school part in that figure of speech come from? Do you have any idea?
I have a lot of ideas. I'm not going to share them here because they're probably wrong.
I looked it up, etymology. The noun is derived from old and school, followers of a particular doctrine or way of thinking. Probably a shortening of old school of thinking. Ah, the old school of thought. Yep, that's it. It's like kids these days. They just want to shorten everything, make it simple. Huzz.
Now, what does Urban Dictionary have to say about that?
Yeah, Urban Dictionary. That stuff moves so fast. I mean, I can't keep up anymore. I'm talking about the Riz these days, and the kids are like, "That was 3 years ago."
I saw a clip of someone who redid the entirety of the intro to Les Mis with
Like Riz.
modern. Yeah, it was Rizzler of the House.
Oh my
It
god.
was pretty terrible and pretty excellent. I'm not even gonna bother linking it in the show notes because y'all can go find it. It's terrible.
I have to say the media where they just like cram as many of those things into like a 30-second clip, it does crack me up.
All right. Well, hey, before we get to that, Corey, what you been playing recently?
Ooh, I have been playing a review game we got in.
What?
Incredible Dream, the publisher behind the Kinfire stuff, which we've talked about Kinfire Delve, Callus Labs in the past. Had a lot of fun with that one. They sent us A Gentle Rain, which is a completely different game. It is cooperative, and that's where the similarities end. This is a game that is designed and marketed as a relaxing experience or kind of like a moment of zen in a busy day. The art reflects that. It's like this kind of swampy, I don't know. It's like water. There's otters swimming around in it. There's flowers blooming in it. It's pretty. It's soothing. Rules wise, the game is extremely basic. It's very, very simple to the point where I got done reading the rules and I was like, oh, that's it. Is this going to be any fun? And spoiler alert, I actually had a lot of fun with it. I've played it quite a few times this week. But the concept is kind of similar to like a Carcassonne. You've got a stack of tiles that you flip over and you have to line them up in ways that the rules will allow. And the only thing you have to really be concerned with there is on the edge of on each of 4 edges on the tile, there's half of a flower. And there are 8 different colors of those flowers. So you just have to match each flower half with its matching color on another tile. If you can't place it, you discard it, but you can almost always place it. When you create a group of 4 of them where their corners are all aligned, you get to place a bloom, a flower token, in between those 4 tiles. And your goal is purely to do that, is to place 8 blooms before you run out of tiles. And the only other rule is that the bloom that you place, those are color coded too. They have to match one of the 4 tiles or one of the 4 flowers that they're adjacent to. That's it. It's like simple, and it seems very luck based. And as you play it, it's like, okay, I could be flipping the tiles that help me get these blooms going really fast. But you start to kind of discover this strategy as it emerges, and there's some subtle things in there, but I think that's the point of the game. It doesn't have to be a complicated experience and a rules dense experience for it to be like rewarding and fun and entertaining. And when I started to treat this kind of like a puzzle activity where you can do it with another person, you just take turns. It gave you something kind of engaging to do with your brain kind of in the background, and I did enjoy that a lot, and so, like I said, played it many times and just managed to win it once.
Oh,
Failed every
really?
other time I tried.
Okay. So yeah, I see this is a solo game, so sounds like it has a big solitaire vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Zen
think it's,
element.
like, designed as a solo game, but like I said, you can introduce teammates just by you take turns, then you discuss where you're gonna put the tiles, kinda similar to Dorf Romantic.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm, cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool. The package is nice. It's just really set Target, and I think it's on sale at Target, which is why they're making this push for it right now. The Target version is actually bigger than the retail version. It comes with like plastic flower pieces to go in between the tiles, but the retail version, honestly, I think it's actually preferred by many people because it's this small box that can almost fit in your pocket, very portable, and the only thing it trades out because the tiles are the same material is the flower blooms are little wooden discs rather than plastic discs. It's kind of like,
Okay.
pick whichever one you prefer, but in in my eyes, I think the smaller package is more applicable to gamers who are like, "Well, I only have this much shelf space over here. I can squeeze that one in that corner."
Yeah, yeah. No, this looks very nice. Cool.
Yeah. So, well enjoyed. And again, honestly, I was pretty surprised by it. I had a lot of fun, and I think this one's going to stay in the collection. Not a lot of these review games keep a place in the shelf, but this one will.
Right. And it's not to speak to the quality of them. It's just that if
No,
you
yeah.
have a very strict rule about your game shelf. I do not. So most of your review games end up on my shelf.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. And you say strict rule, but I'm looking at my game shelf and it's a damn mess right now. I've got stuff on top, on the sides. It's kind of spilling over. So I gotta do something about that, but I'm trying.
But we're not here to shelf shame. We're here to talk about games.
Yeah. All right, how about you, Harrison?
So I have actually gotten around to playing the new and the cool. You've been just ranting and raving about SETI, and I got a chance to try it. And you know what? That game's pretty cool. I like it.
Oh, I
I
was really
I
worried.
want to yeah, I want to play it again. I think like the core gameplay itself felt fine and it was an appropriate puzzle and I felt like I could navigate it easy enough.
Yeah.
But that moment that a new alien race is revealed
Yeah,
reminded
it's
me
cool.
of like the betrayal at the house on the hill where the traitor's revealed. And it's just this big almost like paradigm shift moment where the context of a lot of the things that you've become accustomed to completely changes. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, you care about different things, or there's these new elements in game, and that was a super cool moment. I played. I managed to get a strong opening, and I got all three research tokens on the first alien, and I was
Ooh.
like, "Oh man, I wonder if that was just a mistake. Did I put way too much effort into doing all three of these? Like, it's probably not gonna." No, the game acknowledges you doing that and rewards a player for doing, more than other players on it, in the form of like extra cards, which I thought was
Yeah.
super cool.
More powerful cards too, because you get the alien
Yeah,
cards
yeah.
for it. Yeah, big time.
The economy was just crazy tight. I felt like I was barely treading water the whole time, but I definitely want to try it again. It was a very cool moment.
Yes, that game feels like you're trying to squeeze that last bit of toothpaste out of the tube all the time. You got,
Yes,
like,
yes, and
1
and you
credit
started
left.
with an empty toothpaste
Yeah, yes, exactly.
tube for sure.
But you really can though, and you can do a lot with that, and I think that's credit to the design. I think it's a really good design.
Yeah. I think like the biggest gripe that I have was this is not a very big gripe at all. Just the cards felt like a stack of stuff and not I mean, besides the alien cards that come out, it just felt like a stack of random stuff. And I didn't invest heavily in card draw at the end, so I never saw a lot of the cards that were like focused on scanning sectors.
Hmm,
And I felt like I didn't get to engage with that part of the game at all, which was weird, or not nearly as much as the other players.
yeah.
And then that plays into like the extra card you get at the end of a round for passing first. It just is another random card, and that just felt I would rather have just like drawn a card for passing, or have an extra card on the income thing. It felt like extra fluff for nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
And hopefully that makes you think, like, next time I play it, I wanna try that thing I didn't do, because I think you'll
Right.
find that a lot of strategies can be centered around like different elements of the game, and you I don't know, you can kind of go heavy into one and sort of ignore the others to a certain extent and still be successful.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention quick about the aliens, because we've talked about this a lot with this game. I don't like, and I think we've kind of made it sound like it changes the game. I think it more like it opens the game up when the aliens get introduced, because you can still do all the things you were doing previously,
Right.
but it's like here are more choices now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I should clarify. It is not equal to Betrayal of the House on the Hill where the game completely changes. It's more of a small scale plot twist like, aha, here's this actual whole new thing. And not that you're learning a whole new game mid-game, just that your options open up, maybe your priorities change more than they would in a typical Euro.
Yeah, it's more rules. I don't think it feels super cumbersome because of the way it's done. It's nice to like teach the game and say, okay, we're just not going to worry about those right now, but when they
Hmm.
become relevant, I'll explain. And it
Yep,
works
yep.
just fine for the game.
Yeah, in fact, we had one person teach the game, and then when the first Alien came out, they just gave me the card and I taught people. I just read the card off
Yeah.
for what the rules were, and then when the second one, somebody else did it, and it was yeah, it's very very light. The rules explanation for it, even if you're reading it straight from the card, is not more than a minute or two
Right.
because it just uses the same mechanics just in new and interesting ways.
Well, I'm glad you like it, Harrison. I thought the way
Yeah.
you're setting that up, you're going to say, and I hated it. Just like that build up there. So we'll play this
No,
one together sometime.
I like to have some fun with you, Corey.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, so besides SETI, I also got a chance to try Roblins. You so kindly sent that by mail to me. Thank you, Corey.
Dope.
The U.S. Postal Service thanks you for your patronage. Yeah, I got to try Roblins. So this is the two-player tile laying, card laying game. That's kind of like a tower defense. You are playing as a tribe of goblins that is, was it mean and smart, and the other one is smart and mean. Yeah, it's some fun little writing in the description of the setup, but basically two warring tribes of goblins that have a stash of treasure that they're trying to take from each other. And you do this by drawing from three separate decks of cards that represent goblin specialists or military units or different terrain types to build out your little camp. And then you are equally setting up a obstacle course of sorts for your enemy while trying to send your guys down to steal their treasure. And that works by you have like two different, you have a deck of treasure cards in front of you, and then your opponent has that, and that's basically your life total. And that the part that stuck out when you described this to me was that your resource pile, your treasure, is also your life total, but you can draw from it too. So you can kind of push your luck and try to boost your economy early at the expense of making yourself, bring yourself closer to the end. Which the Magic player in me loved that conceit. I was like, all right, you're
Yeah.
telling me that just every turn I can pay 3 life and draw 3 cards? Yeah, we're gonna do that every single turn. um, so Lauren and I sat down and played it, and it it didn't quite get there for me. It
Okay.
didn't quite end up feeling like I had hoped it would, delivering on that like tower defense style map, because you have 3 lanes that you're trying to defend at the same time, and the limited resources that you're working with. I never felt like I was really able to adequately set up a defense. It was more of just like, oh, so I need to spend 3 times the resources to shore up my defenses because I have to shore up 3 separate defenses to make them, because if you just bolster 2, then your opponent's just going to go down the weak one, and there's nothing stopping
Yeah.
them from
Yeah.
that. Um,
It could be more than three too, because some of those paths split off into two parts.
Right, right, exactly. And there's a way like later you could maybe connect 2 of them and maybe funnel that. But it was unreal. I didn't feel like it was a reliable way to get there. So it was a neat idea. It still feels like it's cooking. They're cooking on it. And I know the developers have sent us a couple emails since we've tried it saying that there's these new rules that we're trying out and we're doing this.
Hmm.
So they are working on it, which makes me hopeful for what they've got going on.
Yeah.
Also needs a little bit of a graphic design tweak. The health, the or no, was it the health, the rating value, and the cost
Yeah.
are on 3 different parts of these hex cards, so you can't hold them in your hand and look at all 3 values at the same time, which just made them a little bit cumbersome to maneuver. Um, but I don't know, pretty. It's a cool idea, and I'm interested to see what they do with it.
Yeah, it's worth noting that you could have like 15 of these cards in your hand at a time because you you do draw a lot in this game. So I
Yeah,
think that's a reasonable critique because you're covering up a lot of important information there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, how many times did you play it? May I ask?
We played it once,
Okay.
so do with that
Yeah,
what you will.
yeah, right, right. So yeah, early impressions, right? So I played it a couple of times, and did feel like the kind of game where the first play was pretty clunky. The second play, we kind of figured out how to work and how to balance the attacking and defense aspect of it. It was fun. Like I said, I did enjoy it. Pretty light, pretty easygoing. Felt like an app to me. Felt like a video game kind of deal.
Okay.
I mean, if that's what you're looking for, I think you'd have fun with this game.
Yeah, I was gonna try to get it to the table again with a different group because Lauren was not interested in it again. I generally gravitate towards things that are gonna grasp me right away. And I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before that like in the board game world today, I don't have a lot of time or room for games that need me to play them multiple times
Yeah,
to
yeah.
really like experience the depth. There needs to be something for me to grasp on there right away. And I just it wasn't quite there. But again, this
Yeah,
is
fair.
in development right now, and will be coming to is it Game Found at some point in the future?
Yes, I previously misspoke on that one. It is Game Found and not Kickstarter. So keep an eye on that, launching soon.
All right, Corey. Well, it's time to talk about those old games. Those games that are old enough to be going into school, like second or third grade. That's what grade 10-year-olds are at, right? I
What
have no
grade are
concept of
you
children.
in when you're 10? Guess it depends on the country, right? 5th grade.
Fifth
So pretty
grade. All
close.
right. Yeah, yeah. Second, third, fifth. It's just a couple numbers
Uh,
away. It's a couple years off, right?
yeah, I should know
So
this being that I'm a 7th grade teacher, but oops.
you just teach the kids. You don't have to know how old they are.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 15.
Yeah, exactly. So all the games here are at least 10 years old. So maybe they're older. Maybe they're all even old enough to drink. Who knows? We'll have to find out by listening to the list. So Corey, I hear you have a first player rule for me.
Yeah, I do. Since we're talking about old stuff, this comes from a game named 1977, but more specifically, Rock Hard 1977. And it is the player to most recently sing in the shower. I
Oh,
gotta believe that was me, unless you do that almost every day.
I whistle in the shower,
Oh,
so I don't
okay.
I don't think that's technically true, but I definitely didn't today. So
Okay. All right. I got you then. I like singing to my dog in the morning.
does your dog join you in the shower?
No, just in the morning. Sometimes my songs continue as I get into the shower. That's all.
Okay, okay, nice
Get a
save.
good melody in your head. You can't get it out. You just got to let the world hear it. My first game came from 1995. You know what happened in 1995, Harrison?
I do not, but I could look it up.
The release of Windows 95, the launch of eBay, the release of PlayStation, and the tragic death of Selena Quintales Perez. Anyways, that game is El Grande, the greatest area control game of all time to this day, even though it was now 30 years ago. Holy crap. Have you played El Grande, Harrison?
I have, yes,
Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. Okay, then chime in as you see fit.
and fairly recently.
Really? Okay, so yeah, it's been reprinted recently. But for those of you that are unaware, this isn't a brand new game, okay, people? This has been around since 95. So in El Grande, players are putting down a bidding card, which has a numerical value 1 to 13 on it. Everyone has the same set of bidding cards, and you can only play each card one time throughout the entire game. That number determines so many different aspects of the game. It determines who gets to go first, how many meeples you get to unlock from your reserve into your active supply. And then it affects, if you get to go sooner in order, which action card you get to choose, which tells you how many meeples you get to put on the board. Okay, so there's a lot of layers to this, and it's all about timing and mind games with your opponents. But it really comes down to this: there's a bunch of regions on the board. The more meeples you unlock, the more potential you have to place them on the map. And the more that you place on the map, the more of a chance you have to win those regions. So they have different point values each time they're scored. One of the regions is the very famous and classic Castillo, which is this, it kind of looks like a dice tower, but The top is open. The bottom has a little sliding door on it. And you're going to drop your meeples into the Castile. And you have to kind of keep track of how many are being put in there because when you go to score regions, the first thing you do is you secretly select a region on the map where your meeples from the Castile will go. And then you dump it out and you see how many of them are actually going to show up there. So it's kind of this like wild card of, I think I got more of them. I think I can take this region. I can't really remember how much the yellow players put in there. But if they choose this region, this is going to go this way and this is going to go that way. And there's a lot of like hypotheticals there that result in some of the greatest mind games in all of board gaming. Not to mention having the most meeples in the Castile in the first place scores you points. So lots of ways to do that. So without getting into too much in the weeds in this, it might be too late for that. There's a lot of really, really cool decision spaces in here, and it results in an extremely, extremely interactive game. That's what I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those, like, really has a lot of good energy at the table because the players are interacting so directly and so often and trying to mind game each other. And without a whole lot of take that elements, like you're never
Yeah.
just saying screw you to someone specific or not. It didn't feel that way when I played it, but might have been the table I was playing with.
Yeah, you're mostly just adding to the board. I mean, I think there's some cases where you can remove opposing meeples, but it's not like you're rolling dice and like killing off other players' pieces. So it's really just a comparison thing. It's area majority. It's a big, ugly brown game from 95. It doesn't have a great table presence, to be honest. And it doesn't need it because the fun is the interaction you have with the other players. That said, a new version of it came out just last year, and it's a little better. But honestly, I'm not super thrilled about that production either.
What it does mean is that this classic is a lot easier to get.
Yes, yeah, that's important. So that is my first pick, El Grande from 1995.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with my youngest pick and then work down. So we're going to start with something that is at this time just about 12 or 13 years old. So a little bit older than that. And this is a gigantic game that I think we've talked about before for sure. Because I think you're like, Harrison, you've taught me that game every time I bring it
Mm,
up. And that is 2012's Terra Mystica.
mm,
So yeah,
yeah, good one.
Terra Mystica from was it Feuerland Spiele
Yep.
is just this monstrous area control civilization, moving purple discs around because they're magical, moving up tracks, everything you can possibly want in a Euro with tons of replayability and crazy complexity, probably too much complexity for a lot of folks.
Mhm.
But it just also has this certain charm to it. Like it's this weird fantasy world with different races like elves and mermaids, but also witches and some was it fakirs, some appropriated things from other cultures too. It's a bizarre mishmash of fantastical and mythological characters all
Mm,
battling for control on this map as they are converting it to their preferred home terrain and then placing their buildings on it. Uh, I'm not going to go into a rules explanation like you just did for El Grande because there is a bit too much there. But suffice to say, there's just a ton of replayability in this, and I'm always going to have this one on my shelf.
yeah, me too, in some form. We did get rid of Terra Mystica, but we got Gaia Project, so don't worry. It's represented.
Yeah, yeah, they do have like a couple now spiritual successors, right? There's
Yeah.
there's that one, the Gaia Project, and then also Age of Innovation. Is that the newest one?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's Terra Nova is the like entry level one, which is not great. I wasn't a big fan of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's a good way to learn the system because it is a complicated system, as Harrison mentioned.
Right, right. And the basis is just turning hexes into different colors so then you can build on them. But those buildings could unlock new abilities for you. I think this is, I'm going to say this without fact checking myself, one of the first games to put unlocking things under other things. So as you place them, you get more stuff, or as you take stuff back, you lose stuff, which can
Hmm.
also happen. So that's a very satisfying element to kind of dive into, especially if you've not had that before.
Yeah.
So that is, boy, I feel like I should say more on Terra Mystica for just how incredible of a game it is and how important it's been to my board gaming life. But that's my first pick, Terra Mystica from 2012.
My next game Comes from 2005, the year of Hurricane Katrina, the death of John Paul II, and the launch of YouTube. Can you believe that was only 2005? It feels like we've had YouTube forever.
What? That's wild.
Yeah, 20 years ago. So, that game is Arkham Horror 2nd Edition from Fantasy Flight. And I have to specify 2nd Edition because the original Arkham Horror came out in 1987. And I didn't know this, Harrison, but it was published by Chaosium, who is the group that does the Call of Cthulhu RPG. Which of course inspired Arkham Horror. The original version of it had a 2.42 weight, which is pretty minuscule compared to the complexity that is the 2nd edition and 3rd edition. That's more like a 3.5 and up at this point. I have to say, that was the thing that drew me to Arkham Horror. Mutual friend John had some roommates that would get together and play Arkham Horror Nights. And it was my first experience with a game that was like an event game. Like they would set aside a whole Saturday night. They'd play until like 3 o'clock in the morning. They'd even like set the table with candles and things to kind of bring the mood. And I didn't know that to be a thing that you could do with board games at the time, to just like make a whole day out of it. But that was so intriguing to me. Like I had to get it. And of course we did. And it was always an event for us too. It was cool. As clunky and as awkward as the rules are in Arkham Horror, the experience was always worthwhile. And we would spend like a minimum 3 hours playing this game and almost always lose. But I haven't said enough about what it is. It is an RPG in tabletop form. You're rolling dice for skill checks, you're going and exploring a map, you're trying to solve problems and complete little missions. And there's monsters just randomly roaming around the board. They basically have this kind of automation to them that tells you which direction they go in any case and how you can interact with them. And some of them are just like unkillable early in the game. You have to build out your character, you have to get more items and equipment and weapons, and some of them you just got to avoid and evade until you can handle them. Do you remember playing this back in college, Harrison?
There was one time, it was slightly after college, where you and John, and I'm not going to remember who else was there. There's one other person at least, came to my apartment complex, and we played this in the community room. And
Yeah.
this is also when I learned that a board game can last 3 or 4 hours, because y'all invited me down to play this, and I don't think that I knew that that was the case, because Lauren was waiting upstairs in my apartment. We weren't living together at the time. She was just waiting up there for me, and I was like, "Yeah, She had come back after like class or work or something, and
Sorry.
I was like, "Yeah, I'll be right up. We're just finishing this game." And then like 2 hours later, she comes down and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "We're trying to kill this elder god thing, right? I think I don't even know what I was doing at that point." Um, so anytime that this game comes up and Lauren's in the room, she's like, "Oh, is it that game?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes, it's that game."
She probably would have liked it. I don't know. I think she could get behind the role playing part of it, right?
I think now maybe, or
Yeah,
maybe now she'd have less patience for a 4 hour game. But
that's true. Yeah. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, a lot of the time was not so much the game, it was us like, okay, what happens in this case? We'd have to like dig through the rule book for that. Like every other fantasy flight game, there's like a million corner case rules about things, and there's probably too much depth for it to feel like clean and concise. But like I said, that was kind of the charm of it for us. It was like, did we play it right this time? I think we did. Good job, team. No. Yeah. And of course there's a 3rd edition now too. It doesn't qualify for 10 plus years old because I think it's less than that, but um, that one has it probably improved on the rules. I don't know. I've never played it.
Well, yeah, it looks like this one is it's a third edition, but
2018.
it's like tile based instead. Is that
Yeah,
what
it
it
looks
looks like?
different, doesn't it?
Right, right. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
yeah, quite different.
I
But
think the second is kind of the Grail game though. That's the one that people like the most. But I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
all right, I will not.
Okay, so that is Arkham Horror 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight.
All right. Well, Corey, my third game, wouldn't exist if back in 1999 we had the horrible Y2K and the world exploded like everyone thought it was going to. Because
Yeah.
just 1 year later, in the year 2000, we were given the gift that is Carcassonne from Hans im Gluck.
Hmm.
I I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about Carcassonne. You get a tile, you place a tile out there, you can maybe put a dude on it, and that dude's going to have a job based on where you put him. It can be a farmer if you lay him out in the fields. He can be a robber if you put him on a road. He can be uh, something if you put him in a city. I forget the name of it. You just put him in a city. And you're trying to claim these different features of terrain as you're building out this map together with all the rest of the players at the table, but it's not cooperative. This was like a very early game in my board gaming career, and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. You're just place tiles down. Okay, let's go back to play Dominion and Catan or something." Because I came to this game much later. But
Mhm.
I mean, since then, it's just grown on me. It's such a just solid design. There's so much room for strategy and skill expression and growth in this. Like when I finally learned how to utilize farmers and play those mind games, the game just felt so much better. Um, yeah, this is a classic for me. I love this one. I once knew someone who said every year their family would get together on the holidays and play a game of Carcassonne with every single expansion printed, including like the promotional ones. So it was a
Oh,
stack of
nice.
like 500, 600 tiles or something, and they would just play all day until they had this giant map that took up like multiple tables. That's a
That sounds
life
like
goal for me.
that
That
sounds like
sounds
you'd run out of
incredible.
meeples pretty fast.
I don't care. That sounds great.
You have to double and triple up your supply.
Right. Yeah. This is I want to play right now. It's a good time. Lauren won't play it with me anymore because I just crush her every time with it.
Uh, for as much flack as I give Carcassonne, I do actually enjoy the game. I don't dislike it. It didn't happen to be in my top 50, unfortunately, but it's a fun time, and it certainly was influential. We've talked about Alice Sky quite a bit. That game, I don't think that would exist without Carcassonne. And I just gushed about how much I'm enjoying A Gentle Bloom, and that game has a lot of similarities to it. It's kind of like a solo Carcassonne in some ways. So yeah, I mean, it's a great game. It's definitely made some waves in this industry.
Yeah. I mean, it's still making waves, right? With the whole Meeple controversy from last year or recently, where
What?
somebody's
What?
trying to. Yeah. So Hans Im Gluck has attempted to trademark the word Meeple because it was originally uh, created for Carcassonne to describe the characters that you place on there.
Oh.
And I think it was supposed to be a portmanteau of my people or something similar to that. But the term has just become so ubiquitous with the little figure from Carcassonne, and that's used by so many games
Mm.
that there's a lot of backlash to that because yeah, that's just a board game thing now, and someone's trying to trademark it much, much after the fact.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's still making waves today, above all things. I think there was gosh, I'm pulling things out of the horrible memory that I have sometimes, and I think there was a US person who filed a trademark for it then in response and has a trademark or a claim on it, and then immediately made it open use or public domain or free use as kind of like a protest to this German publisher trying to trademark it in Germany. So
Mm.
there's a whole thing on the Meeple. You can look it up. You can have some fun with it.
Yeah, that sounds familiar now that you say that.
That is my second choice, Carcassonne, aka one of the greatest games of all time.
All right. My last pick for this week is a 2009 title, the year of Barack Obama being inaugurated as the first black president, H1N1 influenza outbreak, and Michael Jackson's death. Wow, it's kind of a rough,
Oh,
rough year.
do you remember where you were when that happened?
When Michael Jackson died? No.
Yeah, I remember. I remember where I was. I was in one of the university buildings playing Magic with John.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right. Anyways, what's the game? The Resistance. The Resistance from Indie Board and Cards, and this is specifically the old school space sci-fi Resistance because it was reprinted and re-implemented, I should say, just 3 years later as the Resistance Avalon, and some extra rules were added. But this is like the pure and simple social deduction game of I don't think we should put him on the mission. He was a little fishy the last time we did it, and we ended up failing that one. It's all just skepticism and criticism, and usually the game is won and lost by someone accidentally putting their foot in their mouth when they're talking too much. But Kind of a variation on werewolf. Not too much to it rules wise, once again, but it supports a group of 5 to 10 players who just want to throw accusations across the table at one another. Hey, it's not for everybody. I know some people that hate it, but it is always a great time when you're with the right crowd. And I have some very fond memories of playing the Resistance.
Did you know that you co-host a podcast with someone who doesn't care for it?
I'm not surprised. Okay, the game of Werewolf came out in 1986. It looks like. Yeah, Are You a Werewolf? 1986. That's an awful long time ago. So the Resistance certainly didn't start the trend for this genre. We had Mafia and Werewolf as kind of like a camp game for a long time. But I'd say this was pretty influential in kind of bringing this to like hobby board gaming. I don't know. Is that fair? 2009?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely one of the like iconic hobby board games too, because you could have such those like novel experiences, and it was very rules light relatively, so it was easy to get your non-gamer friends to play with you, and they often had a lot of fun because it wasn't what they expected.
Yeah. And we got all sorts of different variations on werewolf from the Ted Alspach lines. One Night Werewolf, Sheriff of Nottingham has that kind of secret, that sort of that lying aspect to games that I think was popularized by these genres. And then, of course, right now the big one for cons. Have you played Blood on the Clock Tower, Harrison? I still haven't.
I haven't either. We should probably sign up for one of those at some point, right?
Yeah, we got to make it happen. Anyways, my pick is The Resistance.
All right. Well, my final game is older than I am, and
Whoa,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
old.
This game is all the way back from 1980, and if Google serves me right, it's the same year that the Rubik's Cube came out, right? That's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this
Miracle on
game
Ice.
is at Miracle on Ice, whatever that is.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
uh, that is from Eagle Griffin Games. That is Can't Stop, the push your luck dice game about maybe climbing a mountain, depending on what version you have, or just stop signs. I don't know. So Can't Stop is a game which you are rolling a set of dice, and you have these pegs that you are moving up a board for a number of columns for each result that come up on those dice. So there's a column for 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 12. And as you're rolling the dice, you are going to place your peg on the sum of those dice, and then try to move up those columns by rolling that exact amount. And you can only move on, was it 3 columns in a given turn. So as you are rolling, you're kind of pushing your luck to seeing if you can keep moving up those, because if you ever roll something that you're not invested in with your dice rolls, then you bust and you lose all the progress for the turn. Otherwise, you can stop, save your progress up those different tracks, and then the next player goes.
Hmm.
Very, very simple dice game, easy to teach. I played this first online during the pandemic from Board Game Arena, and then I had the pleasure of playing like a really old copy with the plastic board and the little like cone shaped markers, pawns.
Mm.
It's very, very light, but a lot of fun to play.
I think a lot of people can say that they've played this one because when you sign up for an account on Board Game Arena, I'm pretty sure they make you go through a game as a tutorial. Is that so
Oh,
true?
that's right. That's right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. Yeah. Oh, and it's not 2 dice, it's 4 dice, but you have like different combinations of them that you can pair together. Right.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
That's
oh yeah,
good
that's right.
pick.
You have to pair them into 2, and then you can move up on both of those numbers or just one of those.
Mm.
Right. So yeah. Yeah, Can't Stop. I mean, yes, BGA still makes you play it, or used to make you play it, but it's a good game. Especially if you want to just get into something and maybe teach your non-gamer friends and coworkers how to play a game on a website in the middle of a pandemic. Oh, that is my final pick. Can't Stop.
Hey, Harrison, if someone came to me 10 years ago and said, you could just stick with these 3 for now, you don't need to buy any other games, I'd probably be happy with the result.
I don't think the me from 10 years ago appreciated Carcassonne as much as I do now. So I
Okay.
would have been a little bit salty about it, but yeah, I think I would have been all right.
Well, maybe if that time traveler was like, just trust me on this one. You have to play it a couple times, you'll figure it out. It's going to age for you like fine wine.
is that time traveler an older and more haggard version of myself? Because that'd
Oh
be
yeah,
cool.
I was kind of thinking it was like Bill and Ted actually.
Oh, okay. That is our final list for old school games. Corey picked El Grande, Arkham Horror Second Edition, and The Resistance, and I picked Terra Mystica, Carcassonne, and Can't Stop. All right, Corey. Well, that is another episode wrapped up. What have you been doing besides playing just a ton of board games? How was your trip?
Oh yeah, the trip was good. We had a good time. We fed some alligators. We
Oh,
ate a
you did.
lot of food. Yeah, we did. I think we saw 20 alligators. If you guys find yourself down in Louisiana, do the alligator airboat tours. It's kind of amazing. Those bayous are huge, and the guides will go around and they'll like pull into a corner of the bayou and be like, "Okay, Bertha lives over here. Just give me a second." And they'll do like, kind of like lip smacking noises like you would to a dog. And then sure enough, an alligator just like pops up because they're basically trained to recognize the sound of the boats, and they know that they're going to get fed at chicken breast. So then the guides stick a chicken breast on the end of a stick and they just hold it out in the water and feed the alligators. They're like their little buddies, their little pets.
Huh.
And they went around, they're telling us all these stories about their histories, how big they are, what their personalities are like. They know them really well. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, we did alligators. We did, like I said, we did food. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. I won't get into all the details of it, but it was a good time. I think there's a good week-long trip in New Orleans if anyone's interested in exploring that city, which I know
Cool.
lots of people are because it was a huge touristy spot. But if you're listening
Yeah.
and you're thinking that sounds fun, yeah, go do it. How about you?
Well, I mean, this is a couple weeks ago now, but I didn't talk about GaryCon, did I?
No.
No. So I guess technically this was a board gaming thing, and I went there for board gamings, but it was still a cool thing. I went to GaryCon in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and it's just a big RPG convention where people are playing D&D or one shots or their other RPGs the whole weekend at not one but two resorts in Lake Geneva because they've grown so big that they have to spread out over multiple resorts. They have a shuttle running between them.
Hmm.
So I went there to demo some role player adventures. You know, our game where you're actually like doing a little more role playing, narrative driven dice rolling thing. But then I got to hang out with at the con and just kind of go to a couple seminars, watch people play games. I didn't jump into a game myself because I just didn't have the time slash I didn't put effort into finding one.
Mhm.
But I got to see some friends, and I even stopped at this place to get a burger in Lake Geneva called Papa's Blue Spruce. One of my friends that I used to work at a different restaurant is now the chef there. And let me tell you, Corey, that is the best cheeseburger I have ever had.
Oh, really?
Oh my
Okay.
God, it was so good. And I was thinking to myself, oh, this tastes like almost like a McDonald's cheeseburger if everything were perfect. Just like the perfect patty, two patties, melted cheese, the perfect mix of like condiments and a toasted bun, a little bit of lettuce on there. Everything was amazing. And then my buddy comes out and says, "What'd you think of that burger?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible." And he goes, "Yeah, doesn't it taste like a McDonald's burger but perfect?" And I was like, "I wasn't gonna say that because I didn't want to insult you, but yeah." He's like, "That's what I modeled it after." So
That's
yeah,
funny.
it was so good. I will say that it is Papa's Blue Spruce is a kind of like a towny bar sort of deal. You know, it doesn't look like it would be a restaurant from the outside, and you walk in and it's Coors light up signs and fishing posters all over the place. It's a little more fine than that, but it does not
Wisconsin.
give the vibe of having this like just incredible food menu. But do not be fooled; it is very good.
Oh, those are the places I expect to have the best food. All the best greasy cheese curds and all that. Yeah.
Oh no, not
Give it to
just
me.
that. They have a was it breaded chicken katsu sandwich, and then
Okay.
like an ahi tuna salad. So they they
Wow.
have they
So
have
they're
like
fancy
actual
too.
like crazy food on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the chef used to work at the ramen restaurant with me. He was the head chef there, so he's kind of brought some forward some of that stuff that
Gotcha.
he was working on there, which was cool. So yeah, if you're ever in Lake Geneva and you get a chance to go to Papa's Blue Spruce, check that out.
Yeah,
Amazing, amazing
I think we
burger.
gotta link that.
Yeah. They actually on their website, you can go on the menu and you can buy the chef a drink for $5 on their menu on their website. So
So
yeah,
if you're
shout
hearing
out
this
to
and you live out on the West Coast somewhere and you're like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty good,"
yeah,
you can still
$5.
support them from afar.
There you go. There you go. Buy the chef a drink. Well, that brings us to the end of another show. Unless you got something else you want to shout out, Corey.
Eh,
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening to yet another episode. Can you believe it's been 45 episodes? That's crazy, Corey.
yeah, it's getting real old, Harrison.
We're getting so old. It's a very good old man voice. You can't tell me otherwise because this is recorded ahead of time. And yeah, but if you wanted to tell me that's a bad voice, you could email me at adamantlyanalog@gmail.com. Or if you want to see all the cool stuff that Corey posts on Instagram, you can follow us at adamantlyanalog there as well. And lastly, I know I'm still talking here, but if you're listening to us and you want to really help us out, you want to do us a big favor, like leave us a comment or a rating or subscribe to your podcast platform of choice. Let us know you're out there. All those little interactions and reviews and ratings help us reach more people, and maybe you'll help someone else discover the podcast.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. Even
Yeah.
better, go nominate us for a Golden Geek. We don't have any delusions of winning this year, but man, just get us on the map, all right? Then we're talking. Then the world is our oyster, and next year we're taking it down.
I didn't have any aspirations of winning a Golden Geek until about an hour ago when Corey told me it was a thing. So,
Yeah.
or rather, Corey pointed out that nominations were open, and I realized that podcast was a category. So,
We
yeah.
specifically named our podcast with an A because then it shows up at the top of all these lists. It's all strategy, people.
You're making us sound way more what's the word?
Petty?
Clever than we
Oh, okay.
actually are.
Got it.
Nah, that's not it. We're just a couple of goofs that like talking about board games.
All right. And we'll do that more next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Adamantly Analog is Corey Murphy and Harrison Dunn. Original themes and bumper music by Corey Murphy. Reach us at adamantlyanalog@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.